Also to my fellow Girl Scouts who are here in attendance. So, there they are, raise your hands, yay! These are also your other fellow Scouters. These are your mutual resources. Remember that nugget for next time. So, my name is Chipka. I'm the former Associate Advisor of Administration with Venturing Crew 505. I am presently now the District Marketing Chair for Shikori District. I'm also one of the leaders with 1152 of the Girl Scouts out of Durham, Kent. In terms of what I am qualified for, I'm an instructor in Lead No Trace, Tread Lightly. I'm an instructor for scuba with PADI as well as EFR. I teach first aid and wilderness first aid, CPR, those kind of different credentials through EIP, CSI. I'm going through a crossover right now with the Red Cross. And I also do medical training for aquatic and marine injuries through DAN, which is Divers Alert Networks, who's here locally. Yay! So that's very, very cool. So one of the things that I discovered is that as an adult leader with the Venturing Crew, I started becoming a resource for some of the youth. And then, of course, other people started asking me a couple questions. And so I started looking into handbooks, whether it was the Boy Scout handbooks or otherwise, and one of the major questions that I figured out was, why isn't certain pieces of information that I want to know not in the handbooks? So, taking to Pinterest, taking to the internet, taking to calling people all around, I put it upon myself to find this information. And of course, I found myself really needing this information when we did our super activity in Alaska, and I needed to know certain things, which include bodily functions, bear bagging, you know, how to deal with other different things that are woman specific. So, as I'm going through my wood badge, which, yes, my totem's an owl. That's why you'll see owls here or there. One of my entire suite of tickets is actually regarding female empowerment within the scouting community, whether it is with the Boy Scouts or with the Girl Scouts. And this is one of those things. And of course, the person who's actually my inspiration for this entire presentation is my daughter, Megan. You've seen her running around over there. There she is. Because I don't want her to be without the information when she comes into age for certain things and be unable to find that information. So I want to be a positive resource for her. In doing that, I discovered that I can share this information with others and be another resource, and then now talking with everybody here, you guys can then share the information and become resources as well. So this is actually a two-part thing. So one part is the presentation, and then of course the handbook. If you have not signed up in the sign-up sheet, I don't know where it disappeared off to, it's over here, please be sure to write your name and include your email address, because I'm still in the process of trying to debate whether I'm going to deliver it as an ebook or as a PDF. I've noticed a generational difference of what people prefer, so in order for me to be able to get that to you, make sure that you're also putting your information onto that as well. I know we have one design PDF.
Well, not all of us have.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm going to try to make sure to provide it in both ways. So, my presentation this evening is Girl Scouts, Girl Outside, Female-Specific Issues for Outdoor Activities. So, has anybody had to deal with, and you don't have to raise your hands because, again, don't want to individualize this, had to deal with going on to a camping trip and you're on your Menses? Don't raise your hands. Oh, okay, we got people raising their hands. How many people will not go camping if there's not a latrine or at least a front country toilet? Oh, okay, we got one here. There's these different types of things that we'll encounter on outdoor activities that we can find solutions for, positive solutions. The information that I'm presenting here assumes that it's temperate kind of climate in ideal conditions. So if we're going on a backcountry trip, and I'll define those things, it's for about a 3 to 5 day excursion, okay? So we're gonna learn how to talk about those issues. As individuals in scouting, whether you're a youth or adult leader, and basically being in scouting, you are a leader for your community. We need to be able to know how to talk about this information and be positive in doing so, okay? We also need to recognize that as scouts, we're also ambassadors, not only for our own programs, but also for the outdoors. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Lead No Trace. Then we need to also, as well as leaders, is to assess whether or not we're ready. And we need to figure out what kind of activities that we might be ready for. We'll look at just a touch on outdoor skills that you'll need to have. Environmental factors, which as a woman really matters, and we'll go over that very briefly as well. Nutrition and fitness, I'll touch on those as well. Equipment and packing, general hygiene, which is always the big monster, and then of course bodily functions, special circumstances, and then of course what to do at the end of your journey. Okay? And the reason why that we want to know this information is that knowing these types of information and skills reduces our impact either on the environment or within the group dynamic. It helps us achieve group goals and helps us to maximize our fun. Because if you don't have to worry about something, you've alleviated that stress and cool, you can go and have a good time out in the outdoors. So you want to be a leader and be a tangible resource for your outdoor experience. So this one kid who was our leader on the Alaska trip used to say, leaders lead. And he said that with snark, it was awesome. So how to talk about these issues. So in most outdoor activities, regardless of what they are, females make about up to 50% of the participants. This is even true even when you're looking at the makeup of the military. Up to 50% of the participants are female. We want to present material openly and factually, so no cute words regarding female anatomy. You know, if we're talking about bodily functions, to actually use the correct terminology, urination and defecation. We'll hear me say pee, but that's all right, we're grown, sir. When you're talking about the information, we don't want to call a person out individually. It's inappropriate. It puts them out in the spot and keeps them and gives them a sense of anxiety. We want to talk about things. If there's a concern that's brought to us, we can address it as a group issue, and then from there we can move forward with discussing this information. You want to be positive. You want to be your role model. So make sure to display role model behavior in when you're handling these kind of situations, and then demonstrate leadership by making sure to talk about it. Okay? Since we are ambassadors, we have different codes of ethics and codes of conduct that we adhere to. All right? As scouts, we learn how to maintain the integrity of the character of the outdoors for all living things. So, part of both programs is Leave No Trace and the 7 principles, and we'll go over that. And then, of course, within our 2 different programs, we have the Scout Oath and Scout Law. You guys can think about those in your own head as to which one is appropriate to you. And what's ironic is that there's a lot of the same language, even though they present themselves a little different. One thing that is not present within Girl Scouting, but is present in Boy Scouting, is the Outdoor Code, which is, as an American, I will do my best to be clean in my outdoor manners, be careful with fire, be considerate in the outdoors, and be conservation-minded. Those things are actually echoed in the Girl Scout law as well, but the Boy Scouts actually make it a very specific thing to sign off on. So as an instructor of Leave No Trace, insert plug, we can actually do classes for you on this. We've got a couple different principles, of which there are 7. And you can go to lnt.org to actually do your own online awareness training. It's plan ahead and prepare, travel and camp on durable surfaces, dispose of waste properly, leave what you find, minimize campfire impacts, respect wildlife, and be considerate of other visitors. Can anybody think of a situation where plan ahead and prepare would be important?
Bring all the materials, everything that could be going on here while you're on your trip.
Exactly. What about travel and camp on durable surfaces? Anybody think on anything with respect to that?
Don't make a new tent place.
I'm sorry?
Don't make a new tent spot.
Don't make a new tent spot, exactly. So if you're already on an impacted site, then we're going to try to select a site that will minimize that. You know, so if you go to a specific camp that actually has raised boards, you're going to want to go onto there. If you're in a pristine setting, there's actually specific requirements for how you set up your camp there. Dispose of waste properly. How many people have, and you don't have to raise your hands, have made a cat hole and left your toilet paper there? No, you have never done that.
Yes, I have.
So that's an example of dispose of waste properly. Leave what you find. So there's a saying that goes, and this is even from scuba, is take only pictures, leave only footprints. And then minimize campfire impact. There's a very specific female-related one here. If, for instance, you're on your Menses and you're dealing with your feminine waste, your private trash, Some places will actually advocate that you burn it. We don't want to do that because that will actually habituate animals to the fact that humans are there. It's not our scent, it's not our hormones, it's the fact that we've been there. So we don't want to do that with respect to our campfires. Respect wildlife. So you've dug your cat hole. You've left your trash. Your fellow camper probably doesn't like the fact that they might happen upon that. Guess what? Animals like it too. In fact, they like things like salt from your urine, or they like to dig through your cat hole. So we got to be very careful in terms of respecting wildlife instead of just simply not harassing them. And then we want to be considerate of other visitors because we want to be able to enjoy these different places time and time again. So now we can assess whether or not we're ready. All right? So ultimately, the responsibility for preparedness falls on you as the individual. Whether that's you, like going on as a group, hiking with a buddy pair. If you're an adult leader with younger youth, so say for instance you're working with daisies or brownies, you're now responsible for their personal well-being and for their safety as well. So you need to be able to figure out that how to control that situation, be able to deal with that. So let's consider your skill level. So are you confident with your present skill level? Do you have enough experience? And can you handle emergency situations is something to consider. With your equipment, are you familiar with it? Have you inspected it? There's probably one of those times when it's been nighttime and you've been hiking or camping and you're like, there goes my light source. I don't have a backup. What do I do? Now I got to start hiking with my buddy and now I've created a safety concern. Okay? Fitness level. This is going to vary across the board, whether you're dealing with young girls all the way to women who are maybe pregnant or even menopausal. There's going to be different ranges of fitness with respect to women. So for that, is your medical up to date? And can you physically handle the particular activity in mind? And then of course your mental attitude. Are you able to focus onto the activity? Are you mentally distracted? Do you have other commitments? One of the distractions that I had, for instance, that I had to mentally table when I went to Alaska is that I had found out literally about a week before that my father was ill with cancer. So that definitely played an impact on my positive mental attitude. So where you can find some of this information and also collect resource information is go on social media, go on Pinterest, go onto the web, talk with other scouters and scouts that are here in your local area, talk to pro educators, talk to your retail associates at different stores. So I actually have some information from REI and Great Outdoor Provision here locally that I'm going to share with you guys afterwards. But these are different resources that you can use to find this information. So looking at your outdoor skills. So one of the things that's actually really kind of cool with the Girl Scout program is that the skills are very progressive. Everything starts off in small chunks and they work on their way too. When you're in a Boy Scout program like venturing, or if you're an adult leader, they push you right straight into the program and then you have to learn those things very rapidly. There are program-specific training for that, one of which would be Introduction to Outdoor Leadership Skills, and then the other one is going to be Outdoor Skills. Contact your local council and figure out where you can actually take those pieces of information. Yes, that is a bear. That's from the Alaska trip. I'll go into that picture in just a moment because that'll come back. So one of the questions that I get is, what's the difference between hiking, camping, and backpacking? These seem like obviouses, but they're actually not. So hiking really simply is from traveling with your pack from point A to point B. It's the physical motion with weight on your back. Okay? With camping, what you're doing is you're setting up a temporary shelter on a site, and there's other activities that can be happening there. All right? With backpacking, which is where the focus of a lot of this information comes from, it's a higher level skill, and it is its own sport. So it's the sport of hiking longer distances over a sustained amount of time, and then stopping at new sites each night. Okay? So those are your different words. Now, the two other words that you may or may not be familiar with is the difference between front country and back country. Those who've spoken with me at any length will be like, yes, I know what those are cool. Other people, you'll look at literature and just on the web or in books from REI and go, what does this mean? All right, so front country composes of sites and areas that are easily accessible by vehicle and are visited by day users. So going to Eno State Park is considered front country. Now, if you go in more in excess, if you're less than 10 miles away from a road, then you're still in the front country, because then you're going to be able to have emergency response times that are a lot shorter, with the possibility that you're going to have some sort of cell reception. Yes, baby girl?
No, that's a bear.
It is a bear paw, that's right. My little owl. That's right. You remember that when I'm beaten. All right. So now for the backcountry. Backcountry literally is what you imagine as the wilderness. Okay. This is This is defined as 10 miles beyond the roads in terms of hiking. Okay. This is going into the backcountry requires very specific special skills, survival training, and being versed in wilderness first aids. And depending on your the agency that you're getting certified with, whether it's ECSI or Red Cross or American Heart Association, there's actually different tiered versions. So like one of the questions that I've gotten is like, what's the difference between Wilderness First Aid Basic, Wilderness First Aid, and Wilderness Advanced, Wilderness First Aid Advanced, so on and so forth. There's different content and different requirements regarding each of those different programs and certifications. So just some basic definitions then. And the reason why I'm not going other skills is because those are handled in your program. So one of the things to consider, start with short trips that have few skill demands, build up your experience and make sure to journal about it. And then get trained. And I'm not just talking about like the train strip or getting trained. I'm talking about CPR first aid, learning how to do wilderness first aid, getting involved in taking classes on environmental ethics, like Leave No Trace, and Tread Lightly, which is environmental ethics as it pertains to working with vehicles in front and back country environments. So there's actually a Tread Lightly class, 2 spots open left. Yay. That was my plug for the night. So now we get to the nitty-gritty, gender-specific issues. All right. These gender-specific issues can actually cause first aid issues, which is the reason why they're heavily focused on here. So we're going to consider environmental factors, nutrition and fitness, equipment and packing, general hygiene, bodily functions, and of course special circumstances. So in the case of environmental factors, we have 2, hot and cold. All right? So one of the things that I've noticed on every single trip is that I get categorically colder than a lot of my male counterparts. And the reason for this is that because of our hormonal differences between estrogen and testosterone, and because of our higher fat to body mass ratios, women have a tendency to get 2 times colder faster than men. This can be mitigated, this can be lessened by wearing proper exposure protection. So layering, paying a special attention to your head and your extremities. This includes like wearing a knit hat to bed and covering your head. This can include making sure to change your clothes after a day's worth of activities, and when you go to sleep, you either wear clean clothing, that's cotton, or you go in the bath. The reason for this is that what happens with perspiration is that it has a tendency to evaporate from your clothing at night, thus producing an extra chilling effect. Yay! So if you're already really cold, now you're even much more colder and you have that much more discomfort. With respect to socks, it's having the correct socks, not more socks. So what you're going to want to do is make sure to have just a normal wicking layer of sock, and then of course your thicker layer sock. So I have a picture diagram that's actually right over here of kind of like your basic base layers of how you're going to need to layer between cold going all the way to extreme. Heat is pretty much common sense, and we have to be a bit more mindful as women. We want to make sure that we prevent and reduce our heat injuries by just monitoring our basic well-being, okay? So we want to look for early warning signs. These include things related to your exercise intensity, the duration of it as well, what kind of clothing, and what kind of personal risk factors that you personally have. So one of the things that kind of works for both cold and warm weather is, of course, your wicking base layers. There's my plug for the night. They even make little wicking shirts for girls. Yay! Yes, exactly. And then, of course, if you're a bigger girl, then yay! That's your Crew 505. This is our base layer wicking shirt. So you can actually get those things for your particular unit. So make sure to hydrate and dress properly. So nutrition and fitness, yay! This is actually Venturing Crew President Leslie Shannon from Venturing Crew 505. So regarding nutrition, the standard daily calorie intake will not suffice. Who can tell me, on average, for a standard age woman, what is the standard calorie intake daily? What is it? We got one there. Can we shout another one?
2,000.
2,000. All right. You said 25? You get that one too. Oh, no. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you. It really depends. So for an average adult female, it's going to be between 2,000 and 2,500 calories. For those who are teens, it's usually going to look somewhere between 1,700 and 2,000. This becomes an interesting factor for those who are engaging in weight management issues, and we'll discuss that very briefly in a second. But for active females engaging in backpacking, again, this is assuming a 3 to 5 day excursion, you're going to burn through 3,500 calories to 4,500. You're taking on that much more caloric. When I was actively doing scuba instruction, I was probably consuming about 5,000 calories and I weighed about 135 pounds. I worked that calorie content off. Also, your biggest nutrient is actually water. Who can tell me what is the standard consumption that you should be having for water?
64 ounces.
64 ounces, so that's about 8 ounces. So we got two winners here. Yay, Candy! I will promise I will not hurt you. She's like, no, don't hit me. Okay. So right, so it's 8 cups of 8 ounce water. You know what that looks like? 2 of these. 128 is 4 of these. Believe you me, that will not change your ability to go to the bathroom, nor will it actually increase your need to do that because you will sweat this off. Okay? In fact, you're going to probably want a 5th one right before you go to bed because this is actually going to help you keep warm. So our friend the Nalgene will come back. So you want to actually be able to handle this. Practice 1 month before and drink all 4 of them for the whole month prior to that trip to get your bladder completely ready for that intake. Otherwise, you're gonna risk yourself with respect to overhydration. Okay. In terms of being able to take from a fitness standpoint, no amount of running on a treadmill or a stepper is going to work. You need to practice walking around with your hike, with your pack as weighted as properly that you're going to go for the trip, and use your boots to build up your stamina. So like for my boots that I'm wearing right now, it took me, their medium kind of flexibility took me about a month to break in. The pair that I had before, which were actually kind of more alpine style, took me 3 months to break in. Be nice to your feet. Do not walk into like brand new shoes on a trip. Done that, and I got severe foot injuries as a result. The other thing that you can do, and of course, for those who are involved in Boy Scouts for Journey to Excellence, log your time in the President's Talents website. It's a good way to keep yourself honest to making sure that you're reaching your fitness and nutrition goals. You can pick your different activity, you can choose your meal plan, you log it in there, bam, it is done. I do this every single day, and I put it in there. And I cannot even begin to tell you, I hit my silver award by cleaning the house. Yes, no one believes me on that one. So yes. The other thing that you can do is if you're looking at meal planning, you can look at MyPlate. Has anybody looked at the MyPlate website? Okay, it's a government website, and you can go to choosemyplate.gov. It goes over the different meal plans and portions that are supposed to be used for an individual for daily meal planning. The other thing that regarding nutrition and fitness is I had mentioned weight management. As women, we need to be really conscious of this. Eating disorders do lurk within females, and of course it's also now come into males. We need to be very conscious of that because in this particular environment, you must eat for energy. You must drink for energy. You will not be able to function. And if there's an individual that is experiencing that kind of an issue, with privacy, you can go ahead and work with them to make sure that you can rectify it from a safety standpoint. In terms of equipment and packing, we need to be really clear of identifying want versus need. Do we need a hair dryer when we're going out into the backcountry?
Oh, yeah.
He's like, yes, I need one. Do we need a hair curler? No. Do we need a slumber bag or do we need a sleeping bag? Sleeping bag. Don't laugh, because of course at the younger level they want you to actually use a slumber bag, and then of course the girls will graduate into that. So we want to consider the activity type that before that we go packing to reduce bringing unnecessary things. So what you're bringing on a day hike is going to be different than what you're going to be bringing on a backpacking trip. Okay? We also want to take an inventory of our equipment and expect it for readiness. Like I said before, you don't want to be that hiker that like goes on their trip and magically realizes, oh no, my light doesn't work. Because that's no fun. So redundancy is something to consider as well. One of the things I'm going to hand out in my in the book that I'm writing is actually a copy of the Venturing Crew 505 How to Pack Your Pack. I use this religiously. I print one out every single time, mostly just so that I'm using it as an inspection sheet. And I'm like, yep, that's coming with me, that's coming with me. And then I'll make adjustments for my own personal notes, as you can see all the scribbles as well. Yes?
Is that going to be in your...
In the manual?
That you're going to send to us?
Yes, I'm going to have that packing list in there, and then there are some differences in terms of what's required for each program. Make sure to adjust according to that. In terms of your pack, there are a couple different options for packs. This is a unisex pack, also known as a men's pack. It is a little different, okay? So the back plate actually is going to be a little longer because if you look at your male counterparts, their torso and their vertebrae area, their spine, is actually longer. So, that taken into consideration. Dun, dun, dun. Here's your plug for the night. REI, thank you for donating this for display. This is a female pack. As you can notice right out of the gate, same capacity, smaller back plate. There's also going to be some extra lumbar support. The placement of the straps is actually going to be different considering that, well, women have anatomy. Some men just, well, they might too, but our consideration is more so making sure that our comfort is very important. And then of course where the cummerbund strap is going to sit differently in terms of where our hips are, because our center of gravity is completely different than a men's. Just because it's pretty, I like the pretty flower. This is Lauren's pack. So you can actually get them in different like designs and colors, and you can get your girl on. But the point is that again, same capacity, different shape to the unit. Okay? Yes. Yeah, well, you want one, of course. Yeah. I have no idea where they went, sweetheart.
Here you go. Are these?
Did I? Uh-oh. Can you go catch it? Oh, they're right here. Okay. So with that pack, if we're doing this 3 to 5 day excursion, we want to make sure that we're packing no more than 30 pounds dry, so that's with no food or water, and we want to have no more than 40 to 50 pounds wet, that's with your food and with your water. Shelter bedding and your actual physical pack, as empty, should not exceed more than 15 pounds. And that's pretty actually standard between the two genders. All right, so we went over some basic things regarding like gender-specific options include your backpack, yay, they're designed differently. Clothing, they function differently, okay? Lauren was very kind to provide me some different things. This is a base layer. This is a wicking underwear. It's going to be able to wick the moisture away from your anatomy. When you're sleeping, you probably want, if you opt to sleep with clothes, you want to make sure to find one with a cotton crotch. For the ladies, we also have the wicking bra. I tell you, you absolutely do not want to wear a standard sports or casual day wear bra. It will hurt. For those who need a little bit more support, yes, they actually do make them with underwire. But for those of you who are less endowed, they do make those options as well. So those function as a great base layer. So your shoes are different depending also on your foot shape. And of course, sleeping bags and liners. So a typical bag for a female is going to be like this. That's going to take up a lot of space into your backpack. But one of the things that we were talking about with temperature, right, is how quickly do we lose temperature? 2 times faster. Okay, so female rating on sleeping bags is actually going to be different. Okay, so for instance, a 0-degree bag for a guy is going to be the equivalent of a 30-degree bag for a woman. Yep, I already know that. That's Avery's actually my primary instructor, and he's learned me very well. But yeah, so it's something to definitely consider. So if you're borrowing your husband's or brother's or whatever's equipment, make sure it has a proper rating, or else you're going to be very, very full. That said, now we have the more expensive option. This is my husband's bag, and look how tiny it is. So if you spend a little bit more money, now you've reduced your weight by probably half with respect to your that 15 allocation. But say, hey, I only do summer hiking. You don't need that. Oh, we have what's called a bag liner. You can use this for extra warmth during the winter. Snuggle inside, keep your sleeping bag that much extra cleaner. If I can get this open, you'll just see how tiny this is. On a hot day, like at Eno or something like that, you're going to want one of these. Look how tiny. You will roast women, I guarantee you. You don't need that big fluffy backpack, sleeping pad unless you really want it. I like mine because sometimes I like to cuddle. Also, to try to protect us as well, sleep pad. It's not just for keeping you warm, it's also to keep that moisture out from coming into your equipment. And you can find different sizes for that as well. So one of the things that we have to deal with as well is making sure that we're dealing with our hygiene. So we want to make sure that we're reducing infection, the possibility for infection, because one of the things that we get to have the pleasure of dealing with is vaginitis and urinary tract infection. So that could either be yeast infection or the kind that produces the discharge with a fishy smell. We want to make sure to avoid that. We can do this by making sure to wash with a cloth in purified water to bathe daily. It's nicknamed the bird bath. So you also want to make sure to dispose of that wastewater properly and scatter it in the appropriate campsite setting. If you can't do that from a leave no trace standpoint, there is the baby wipe bath. Yes, keep extra baby wipes. You can make sure to bathe yourself to make sure that your areas are clean. We want to make sure to take care to sweat-producing areas, including underneath the bosom, around the butt cheeks, and different armpits, and different other areas like the elbows. We want to make sure to clean those off and get that sweat off of our body. Make sure to pack that stuff out and brush your teeth daily. This seems like an obvious, but it's not. Especially for those of us when we're dealing with hormone fluctuations as we're coming into our menses or out, or if we're taking, for instance, oral contraceptives to regulate menses or other things. We have the ability where we're going to promote bleeding in terms of our gums. There's other different factors as well. So we want to make sure to take care of our oral health, because guess what? If you need to eat that 4,000 calories and drink those 4 Nalgene's of water, you don't want to be like having some mouth issues going on. Just no fun whatsoever. So brush and floss. Bodily functions, Charmin Bear. Right, so we want to follow leave no trace guidelines. We want to pack out our private trash and not to bury or burn it. And then we can also have the option of natural toilet paper, which includes like rocks, snow, leaves. Don't go for the poisonous plants, they don't feel too good. And we want to make sure, and again, this seems the obvious, wipe from front to back using the toilet paper, baby wipes, or even a dedicated bandana for that special, depending on the function. You can actually use a bandana as a wipe for urination. All you got to do is adhere it to the back of your pack, let the sunlight hit it with its UV rays, and then of course, you don't want to put it on your hair, like disinfect water with it, that'd be kind of awkward, but yeah. It's just like don't use the trowel for anything else either. So one of the things that I use to carry out my special waste, your arts and crafts for the day, the big Ziploc bag. When you're done with your garbage, put it inside and carry it with you and put it onto the exterior portion of your pack. That way it's not having in contact with your food, because that would be gross and unhygienic. So for me, mine got some decoration with some fun duct tape, and it says poop in the shape of flowers. So make it your own, mark it your own. We actually did that in Alaska and made beautiful decorations.
So the pink that's on there is
Basically just duct tape.
It's just regular duct tape. So if you want to be awesome, you can make it whatever, or just opt for silver. Just go nuts with that. Yes.
How long does that last?
You only want it to last for that one trip.
But I mean, how long is your trip? You're putting all your stuff in.
When I was doing with Alaska, I made one for the first trip, which was 5 days. Created another one specifically when I was going for the second half, which was canoeing, which was another 4 to 5 days on the Yukon. So it will last for all of your personal trash. Whether it's because you're bathing or you're doing your business, it will last for that. And we want to use that duct tape for that extra reinforcement, again, because you don't want that fun, happy business going into that bag. Yes?
So what did you do with it in between?
For which?
Either. I mean, you had it for the first half, so did you have it?
Oh, you dispose of the waste properly. If there are designated trash cans for that particular type of waste, put it there as soon as you enter into the front country, or wait until that you can actually dispose of it properly, because it is bio-waste. Yes, and there we go. Now we have other information. Bodily functions, rock on time. Yes, so you don't get a latrine. You don't get a toilet. Your toilet's the trees. How are you going to do it? There's all sorts of great methods depending on how you want to squat. Now, one of the things that kind of stinks about having to squat as a girl is that you can splash back. Awesome. Guess what you get to do with your clothing at night? Who knows what one of these are? No saying Keith or Avery. Bears. There's a bear can. You can bear bag it, or you can bear canister it. You have to make sure that, of course, from like the regulations of the place that you're going and camping in, will allow that particular type of bear canister. But you get to bear canister it at night and let the bears play with it. It doesn't prevent smell, it just prevents them from getting in. But you don't want it in your tent, okay? So with the rest of your smellables, if you have lip gloss or toothpaste or whatever, it all goes in the can and goes over by either your designated bathroom area or your designated kitchen. That else goes bye-bye. In lieu of that, no pun intended, we have the FUD, also known as the female urinary device. So President Sarah Dillon of Go Girl was very, very kind to send me one as a sample. Yay, he's like, yes! As well as, yes? Oh, okay, go on. Okay, you can give him a lollipop. That's fine. There's the lollipops of the night. She was actually wonderful and sent us a bunch of samples. And I've given some to the crew, and I have a couple for this evening. And people are like, okay, why a female urinary device? It's really for hygiene. Because if you can prevent yourself from that kind of infection of either squatting down on a nice poisonous plant or other things like that in terms of making yourself sure that you're clean, we can make that happen. So, Keith, can you run up here and help me out for a second? My daughter's actually been trained to use one of these, so it's actually pretty cool. I don't like going to public restrooms with her and having her sit on the toilet. It's really nasty. So, Go Girl makes two options right now. Ones that are pink and ones that are olive drab. I use an olive drab one because I think the pink one's kind of disconcerting. And it's a funnel. It's flexible. It's medical grade silicone. And if you pay attention to the way that it's packed back into the container, it'll go. If you're pregnant, this is a blessing. You don't have to squat down. If you're menopausal and you're worried about like your back hurting, this is a blessing. Now you can stand up. Good. Gotten that covered and that fun happiness covered. Really easy. The way to use it, there are other models as well, but this one has a generous space. You cup it to your anatomy, practice in the shower. Now you will finally understand why men have anxiety in public restrooms. Because it's funny. And you're simply like, oh, so good.
Write your name in the snow.
Write your name in the snow with the guys. And that's it. It really is that simple. So, that's how you do that. Now, if you're going to defecate, guess what? You got to do just like the boys. Get down and squat, dig a cat hole, make sure to pack out the waste properly. In the event that you get to pack that out, because guess what? Sometimes, if you're above the tree line, you get to pack out your urine and your feces. Welcome The peewee, it's also a wag bag. What shape is this for? Not women. Female to male adapter. Ah, I can now go. I'm done. Rock on. I can carry it out. Yeah, all these fun little happy things that I discovered. And then of course they also have the poop bag version too. You can carry more waste for that. Now, let's talk about your menses. Yay, another wonderful happy thing that we get to deal with every single month unless we're going through menopause. Different ways to manage it. Tampons are the preferred method. They pack very lightly. They go into, and you can carry them out. Pads are not recommended because of the chafing action that happens between your legs and whatnot. Other options include, and you are free to pass these around. These are demonstration models. Don't get freaked out. How many people know what this is? Avery, you're not allowed to no. Oh, we have one, we have two, we have three, we have four. Oh, we have the savvy women. Go ahead and take one, pass it around. These are called menstrual cups. This particular manufacturer is called the Diva Cup. They're awesome. That said, they have a learning curve because of how they're used. You can see me privately afterwards as to how to use them. I will spare you the nitty-gritty on that. But there are different methods and whatnot for the girl. And who here is a youth adult leader or youth unit leader? No, not you. She's like, me, pick me. Who's a youth and who's here and who is a leader? Like an officer. Who's an officer in your unit? Merry Christmas. Here, this one's yours. This is a $25 product. Okay, it is completely reusable and is able to be reused. There's two different sizes of menstrual cups normally out there, and the age limit is that if you're 30 and younger and you have not had a child, there's one size. If you are 30 and above, or if you had a child, no matter if you're like 26 and you've had a kid or whatever, that's a whole other size because of the shape of our pelvis changes. So that's another option. And then, of course, there's elective contraceptives that can be used to regulate your menses as well. Something to consider with respect to menses, and this is a first aid consideration, look out for signs of anemia. Okay? So we start going iron deficient on you. So we also have to think about our food planning. Those are definitely some considerations that we have to deal with as well. And my notes went over here. Very good. So quiz time. Because I got 3. And it's okay, the men can take them too for the girls. Go Girls retail for 12 to 13. You can actually do bulk pricing on them as well. Sarah's really open to that. And she will take your phone call and talk your ear off on the phone. She's awesome. What are some other things that we carry as women that can be used in a first aid situation that have to do with bodily functions? Pads. Tampons, one for you. You get a pink one. We got one more. We got one more answer I'm looking for. You got pads, tampons. He's like, pick me.
Aspirin.
Not. Female things that females carry.
Aspirin. You don't want to be cranky. You do not want a cranky girl on her period.
Work on men.
Actually, let me rephrase it. Babies use them.
Oh, what?
Diapers.
Diapers! No, you already got one.
I gave it to her.
Oh, now you got one too. All right. Diapers. Diapers, pads, and tampons can be used as other things within your pack as alternate devices for your first aid kit. If you are in a mixed group, it is generally considered that those types of items are personal equipment. Keep that in mind when you're in a mixed group. If you're in a single gender unit, then you can start thinking that as group gear. All right? So now we get to the special circumstances of listening to your body and staying safe. All right? I actually got permission from this woman. Her name, the person who's hiking, her name is Amy Packer, and the author of the website is Tales from a Mountain Mama, Amelia Meyer. Pregnancy is something that we can continue to enjoy while in doing outdoor activities, but there are certain circumstances as well. Same with menopause. In terms of staying safe, we got to think about mitigating crime, theft, and violence, and also what happens if we encounter violence. Okay. So with respect to pregnancy, we want to make sure to hydrate and keep us from overheating. Make sure to drink municipal water or talk to your healthcare provider about drinking treated water. We need to continue to eat healthy food and take note of our calcium intake because we need to be careful for our bones and our oral health. Like I had my teeth chipped when I was pregnant with Megan. And then we want to make sure to take note of our fitness levels and the way that our center of gravity actually changes. Thank you very much. And the fact that our center of gravity changes. So maybe we're going to actually have people who are going to carry our equipment for us or carry our extra water for us. And we're going to use trekking poles to kind of help with that. In terms of menopause, we want to make sure to look at our hormonal difference. So take special care to make sure that you're eating food that is nutrient dense. Taking, again, special attention to calcium because of our changing bones, because we're at risk of osteoporosis at that point. And looking at how we handle our pack, because we want to make sure that we're dealing with our hips and our back properly. With menopause, we also want to be aware of issues of incontinence. So you're going to wear a pad. You're going to need to change that possibly just in case you have an accident, and that's just a reality. And then, of course, practicing Kegels definitely is something you can think of. In terms of mitigating crime and theft, don't allow yourself to make a victim. What I'm going to do is in my manual is I'm going to have a list of different things that you can do to make sure that you do that. With respect to encountering violence, you're going to treat it the same way that you would as best as you can in front country or in regular world situations. You're going to make sure to try to contact emergency services. If it is of a sexual in nature, you're going to do, yes, baby girl, go to daddy. You're going to make sure that you're not washing your fingernails or your body because you want to be able to make sure that law enforcement officials can collect that information and that data. Okay, so after your journey, you're going to want to journal about your experience. Don't go for the heaviest thing on the block. These are actually called field notes. There's different ways to, like whether they are waterproof or if they've got dots or lines. One of the things that they teach in Girl Scouts is that you want to reflect on how to make your trip better. So peaks and valleys, note things that didn't work, make equipment lists, and make notes on the area that you had just participated in on your activity. Because maybe you want to go there in the future, but you want to make sure, oh, I remember where that waterfall is, or that water source was dry, and we want to make sure that we plan better with our water management. All right, and that's pretty much it. So these are the people that I consulted: Diva, Trace, Knowles, Diva Cup, Go Girl, the employees of REI and Great Outdoor Provision, Venturing Crew 505 and 1152, Okanichi Council and Shikori District, North Carolina Coastal Pines, Stonewall Jackson Council, which is the council that I'm taking my wood badge with, woo! And of course Sergeant Dennis Medina of the U.S. Army. Without him, most of this information would not be